one thing that I know may be different for you than from everybody else is like most people's path to success is not this like perfectly straight line.
Yeah.
And I think part of that is the mindset, right? Because when I listen to you talk, what I hear you talk about is like, it's just this really sequential build. In reality, I'll bet there was some like trouble along the way. And there were times when it didn't go well. It's like give people some insight.
My wife told me the other day, we were laying in bed and this year has been very challenging for me personally and in my career. And we were laying in bed and she just said, it is really hard to be married to you. I'm like, it's kind of rude. What does that mean? And she just said, she was kind of laughing, but she just said, every year there's a catastrophe. Every year there's like this like blow up or like the world is ending. And so I'm happy to share any amount of them with you, but it has definitely been, every time there's been a success, there's been, a massive, massive hurdle before it. My first one, my very first one was that first assistant I hired in 2011. He, one day I came into my office, he'd been with me for a couple of years. He was like my right hand, go-to. And, man, I walked in the office and there was just a note on my door, and I was like 23 years old. I was an idiot, but there was a note on my door, and I opened the note, and it was basically like his resignation, handwritten, and like telling me all the reasons why he would never work for me again and how terrible of a person I am. And it was like pretty much all true. Like it was like I wasn't like didn't do anything like horrible, but I was just like the way that I treated him and the way that I treated, it was just like if anything went wrong, it was like a freak out and like everybody's to blame. And like, it was just like, I was a terrible manager and leader. And with him leaving, like, I mean, he was like the stable force behind everything I was doing. And so it was like a big blow up, and it took me a while to like rebuild and get things back together from there. He and I are friends today. I went to his wedding, and it was some relationship rebuilding after that. But that was if I go back, that was like the first blow up that happened, and it was self-inflicted. And I will tell you, just since starting Homeward, we don't need to fast forward all the way there now, but there's been, every year there's been a massive challenges.
Yeah, and I think that's what I was looking to point out, right? Like people often look at those who have a lot of success, like you've obviously had a lot of success, and they say, well, it's because he got lucky, or it's because he's this, or it's because he's that. And the reality is like most people's stories are pretty similar, and it's more about your ability to overcome adversity, work through it, and persevere than it is to be lucky or anything else. And
well, and that's the thing about like, a lot of real estate agents are very entrepreneurial. Maybe most successful real estate agents are very entrepreneurial in nature. And the thing about being entrepreneurial, it's like you have this discovery mindset. It's this learning based mindset, which is, it's why, it's why, the audience, the real estate agents that y'all are on here today, you're on to learn something. Most industries, most people are not like, listening to podcasts, reading books, trying to like figure out how to get to the next level. They're just kind of doing their job and going about their day to day. And the really cool thing about this industry is it encourages this learning based mindset. And yeah, I mean, you don't learn when things are going well. You pat yourself on the back and start thinking you're better than you are when things are going well. You learn when everything is a shit show, and you're trying to figure out how to like, pull it together and figure out, okay, we were succeeding in spite of all of these things. Now let's go in and figure out what the problems are with those things so we can fix them. And on the other side of fixing them, you now are smarter. You now are more successful. You now are like, one level better than you were before. And man, for 14 years, that has been my experience.